Why, hello, DBI. Hello. Welcome. welcome. welcome to take two. Me trying to record this video. Hopefully, it has much better audio than the last one. Maybe at the end of this one, I'll post like some clips of that first video if I haven't deleted it already. But welcome to another roleplay review. This time over Dig Site Training. Now, I know that this one was posted on January 9th, and as of recording this, it's a month and 12 days later. I'm sorry. I know I am behind on getting the reviews done. I am working on them. We will try to get through as many as we can while I'm on a vacation this week. And then hopefully I can get like a little bit more rhythm. I haven't been feeling too good. I kind of just got my voice back, so that's why those were under delay. Case in point. But, yeah, we're going to be covering Dig Site Training today, and this log stars the characters Cordio and Showari, as I have now been informed, and how that is pronounced. The dialogue or the type is dialogue and meet / cute, sure. The arc is begin anew, and the synopsis. This synopsis is like the absolute best way to describe what happens in this log. The synopsis is the log. So it basically says, while working to uncover some ancient ruins on Raylock, Cordio meets a curious young demoness, and the two spend an afternoon together. That's it. That's the log, folks. I don't know why I'm wearing my headphones either. But that's what happens. That is exactly what happens. And normally for a log like this, I wouldn't really do a video review because there's not a lot here. Like it's a log that would take you 5 minutes to read, 10 minutes to read and understand what's going on. So there's not a lot here, but I feel like I do have a lot to say. I mean, the first time I tried recording this, it was almost 20 minutes. I'm going to try to surmise it down a little bit more than that. But yeah, what we have here is getting caught up with Cordio. And the last time that I reviewed something with Cordio, it was, I call it the Shard Devil, but I think it was actually called the Shard Veil. When he was in like those crystalline caves, learning his nature energy and, you know, how crystals work and how to create these constructs through the earth. I remember that, and then I know that he recently, and it says in this log, he had a bout with Genesis. And this is saying that it was a few months ago and that he's still recovering from it. And it has been a while since we caught up with Cordio, so I really enjoyed that bit. This is also my first introduction to the character Showari, and I wanted to kind of cover this because, being that it's my first introduction, there's a lot of parts of this character that, you know, they don't get to really show here. Like, you can't show all aspects of your character, you know, off jump when it comes to like a short, just kind of meeting dialogue roleplay like this. So there were a lot of parts that I'm like building a story in my own mind of what could or could not be, and it was cool to see that this was their introduction and not, you know, typical DBZ, you know, I'm the villain and I'm here to destroy everything, or, you know, things like that. And it kind of, I'll start with Showari. So with this log, Cordio is at an excavation site on Raylock, and they're trying to uncover some ancient ruins, and Showari just, I don't know if they're already there or how it is. We don't really need all that build up and introduction, you know. I'm glad we didn't spend 8 posts of like me getting there and then the interaction happens. It's very much writer's will of just, you're there, I'm there, let's get to it. And I love that. Right? It just cuts out so much of the fat. And they're there and they're just kind of, you know, very casually discussing with Cordio, like, what are you doing? And the reason that I wanted to talk about this character, because in many, many, many ways, this character reminds me of Rizian, the current demon version of Rizian, where it's parts that make up a new whole, right? And I don't know specifically if Zofu ever got the Mirror of Arunsul. I know that that's what they were looking at. They were looking for. I don't know if that quest ever happened, but if it did, it seems like to me it's like you had, Zofu, Yashi, and now Showari or X-O-Wari, which I don't know. I don't know. So if those are the parts, then this new character is the new whole. And they seem to be a character of instinct, a character of intuition. I don't want to say ignorant, because that seems too harsh of a word, right? Although ignorant, like, there's nothing wrong with ignorance. It's just they seem... And I don't even want to say uneducated, because they can talk, they have a mind. The mind is functioning. They're curious about what they don't know, right? And what I mean by that is, since they are parts of a whole, and anybody who knows Zofu, like, he wasn't the nicest of people. I think even Ike has the Zofu as like one of the most dangerous characters in the verse. So I would say, like, I won't say terror, but like violence is an innate ability of this character. It's almost like this character reminds me of Majin Buu or Oob, right? Like, if you knew what you came from and how dangerous that thing that you came from is, we'd be in a lot of trouble. But at the same time, like with Oob, I feel like this character could either, they could already be who they are and like be themselves. But I also feel like this character can even almost be like a Majime, where like however or whoever imprints on this character will either lead to the destruction of the world or the savior of the world, right? Like, that's the vibe I'm at least getting from this. Like, yes, they are their own person, but they have just the way that they present their little understanding of Corio's type of ki, and the way that they are led and taught, it just seems very like they need a teacher of some sort. But they have insane innate abilities. So, like, at one point in the log, Corio is showing them like their ki and how it manipulates through nature, and it creates things, or it is the opposite of them. And Zoe is just kind of like, yeah, I have that too. It does this, boom, right, and like slices through the air, through the trees, and like shows of like, yeah, I am an engine of destruction. That's what I know. But yours is very different. Yours is gentle. Yours, like, that's what it almost kind of like, what is this, right? And that's from that is where I got this imprint. And again, I've been super wrong about characters before. Maybe that was just in the moment, they've never seen this. Maybe they don't, need to imprint on anybody. They are their own person already. It's just they've never seen that. So they're just asking questions. They could just be, I guess, naive to that aspect of it. But it excuse me, it did just remind me of that, right? It just reminded me of like, yeah, this, if this person just came to be, right? we here you are, you exist as an adult, and you didn't have all of that childhood to grow up and learn from. You would be kind of like that. So, that was my take on Zoe, but really what I wanted to talk about here was Cordio, because I feel like, I don't want to say they stole the show, because it's not a competition. This is a very good back and forth kind of role play, and I think that these two characters play well off of each other, very well off of each other, to the point where I would love to see them, it's hard to get people to be like on an adventure and on a quest on page right now, because of timing and life being what it is. But I would be interested to see more meetings and more interactions with these two, and even see like how they would approach I won't say a villain, but just how they would approach a quest, or how they would approach, to defeat an enemy. Because really, and what I wanted to talk about with Cordio here is that, like, in many, many, many ways, when I read this and I finished it, Cordio really reminds me of a Jedi Master, right? And when I say master, I'm not saying like Cordio himself has reached a level of mastery of anything. Like he is not like a Yugen, right? Of like, I have completed and know a complete understanding and full control over a martial art. I wouldn't say he's a master in that aspect. I'm talking about the actual character arcs of the Jedi Masters. And if you follow them, what do they all do at the end? Yoda, Obi-Wan, even Luke, all kind of retreat away from the war, from strife, from the fight, right? They leave the fight. And while Cordio was never really in his heart a member of Canvas, he was introduced through that arc, and he followed along because the other people that were role-playing were kind of doing that arc. Like, that is what the story was at the time. He never really was, and the character never really was one to pursue it, right? He was there to help his friends because he cared about his friends, but he himself was not there to defeat the Empire and to bring them down and to bring them to justice. He just wanted to keep his friends safe. And, now that pretty much nobody is running with that storyline anymore, I mean, honestly, I feel like Zulker's the one that's keeping Canvas alive by quote-unquote hunting for them. He has then retreated onto his isolated planet to live a quiet life, and he has matured beyond the fight, right? Like, he's removed himself from it. He understands that there is always going to be strife and war in the universe, but he is not the savior of it, right? And he never has been. So he's gone back to doing what he enjoys, which in this case is searching for bits of history. And I really love that he's on Raylock because, one, it's a planet that we haven't really investigated. There's a lot of fresh lore that can be said. There's a lot of history because it's such the race itself. We really don't have much on them, and the original Raylock series that I forget who was writing it, was kind of like the only introductions that we were ever getting to it. So if you talk about, a blank canvas to where you can say whatever you want, you can make up whatever history you want, as long as it is slightly related to Yondai, yeah, you go nuts. So there is so much open possibility for a story like this. But yeah, he's just looking through the ruins, and he even, like, Zori Axum asks him, what would you do if you found like a weapon here? Like, is that what you're looking for? Again, the Zofu kind of mind, like, how can I best, preserve Blackley? I need to have weapons. I need to have this, that's always kind of been his thing. And Cordio's like, well, yeah, I mean, that'd be cool if I found like, a sword or a shield or something. It could help me dig. I could probably like scoop up more dirt on the shield, or if I had to wedge a strong rock out, I could probably use like a sword like that. But once I got my use out of it, then I would want to study it, and if it's in good enough condition, preserve it or give it to some conservationists so that they can preserve it and then teach on its history. So he's just got a completely different mindset, right? And it does, like, it really does feel like, you know, like an old Namek. I know he's not old, he probably is like a young Namek, but it just like I remember in Arunsul, right, when Zofu, it was like Zofu and Eichenbahn were both kind of saying like, hey, this shit's important. I feel like Cordio in the same way is saying like, hey, history is important, right? Like, I need to be strong and gather strength to do this thing that's just as important as stopping somebody from, you know, bombing South City again. And so, you know, it shows maturity out of the character. It shows character growth for sure. And it's hard to get all that from what's here, right? Because I don't think any of that is said, right? None of that is said here, but it's the subtle way of good storytelling where you can tell a story behind the story if you know all the parts, right? If you've been following along with the character, you get to certain points where you got to have like a little bit of a payoff. And I feel like for me, this was a payoff on Cordio's story. And this is also could be like kind of like the starting point of Shori's story, right? Of, yeah, from that meeting I had with Cordio, it then, you know, maybe somewhere in the future they're about to snap and lose it and just be like, I'm going to slice this thing into little ribbons because that's what I know and that's what I'm good at. And then they come back and think of like, oh, well, there was that one time that I met that one guy, Cordio, and he showed me how to do this. And then, you know, that moment then becomes something that they carry with them because of what happened here. So, yeah, again, normally I would say that this would be a log where I just, you know, write down here, hey, I read it, good job, because it's just two people role playing on the chat channel, which we don't really get that often. Again, I know life happens, so, but I really like the subtext. I like the story, again, behind the story that each one of you were telling, and I hope that you guys really had fun because it was a really good read. So. I've taken up a lot of your time, everybody. As always, thank you for being here and listening to me, and I will see you guys next time.